Right. Welcome everybody. Friday the 14th of August, London session. So that's obviously a wait and see, what happens today. It's been tricky, all right. This week has been tricky. We've been buying the dollar. We've been, selling the dollar. Yesterday we'd swapped in between, and then obviously price reversed. It's been tricky, really, really hard. Oh, get back here. What's going on here? There we go. It's been hard. All right, really, really hard. One thing that obviously we, yeah, need to kind of focus on, I think, is escalation is, looming. All right, escalation is looming here. So, we do need to be a little bit careful of, what is, happening here. And, yeah, how we can kind of capitalize on it, So let's leave gold until last. All right, and obviously we'll go through this because goal's been kind of my rescuer this week. I haven't had a bad week at all actually, but one thing that I've not been happy with, and this is obviously the importance of journaling. All right, is studying your win rates here. So yes, I've been happy that obviously I have had a pretty good week this week. We've still got today. It could have been a lot better, but actually, and obviously that's one thing too. Would I change the trades that I've taken? No, because I pre-plan everything, and obviously I can't stress enough how important it is to pre-plan. I had a guy message me the other day. I'm not sure if he's in here or not. I'm not gonna mention names, but I think obviously other people's stories help. But obviously, he was trading for his car. You know, didn't do very well. And obviously you've got to then ask yourself, why? All right, yeah, yes, I still a bit old school. I take my trades from here. I've tried taking my trades from the platform here. I've tried everything. I just like it on, my, mobile because like yesterday, yeah, yesterday afternoon I went to the driving range, and I can still monitor them, you know. So yeah, it's that's kind of yeah how I like to, but my kind of strict routine, if I can't monitor the charts on my laptop, then I'm not going to look to enter. All right, that's like the most important thing. If I can't monitor my charts on my laptop, not like monitoring full time, but in regards to entries, all right. If I'm planning an entry, I'm going to plan it on my screens, laptop, as opposed to trying to plan it on this tiny screen here, and so that's obviously one rule that everyone should have. I hear it so many times. I was driving and I was entering in and entering out, and obviously some days you'll do brilliant, all right, but then other days you'll get stuck, you'll get angry, you'll be driving, you'll be stressed. You gotta, like, I try and simplify it as much as I can. You got to be 18 to trade. All right. So you're an adult. All right. So you got to act like an adult, and, I know it sounds a bit crazy, but it's probably me with children, like, that is, something obviously we all succumb to. I can remember being, because obviously I had a company previously. I can remember being on jobs and I didn't have very good signal, and I was like, tapping away, and I was probably making, I don't know, on my particular job. Yeah, I had others, running at the same time, but would be making probably 300 quid on that particular job, but I'd be losing a grand here, you know. So, and then you're angry because you're working for free. You're gonna be working for free tomorrow and the day after, when really, you know, if you can't trade, you know, you have got to you have got to you know, you have got to, yeah, you know, kind of make sure that you know, don't trade. All right. The beauty of trading, which I think everyone fails to kind of grasp, there's this big hurry, you know, to become profitable, to, you know, make money. Maybe it's pressure from, you know, social media, which you guys have to understand. Majority of, you know, social media is not true. All right, there's so many things you can do. There's so many things that you can, you know, how you can post, you know, what you can, you know, yeah, there's a lot of stuff happens, you know, which obviously I'm not going to go into too much. I think I've gone into it on a few boot camps, but don't believe the hype and pressure, you know, because even, I mean, I saw an advert the other day from a particular group, and it was, you know, they decided to have multiple different styles of trading. They're going to publish it, and this guy made, you know, 600 pips today, and this guy made 800 pips, and this guy made 120 pips, and they collaborating, they've made 1800 pips. But obviously, yeah, you know, it's not, yeah, you know, it isn't true. And the truth is, I respect and look at older traders, all right? Because yes, this is an industry where people come and go. You know, I've even heard stories where guys have done brilliantly in 3 years, and then their edge has dropped off, their mindset's dropped off, their confidence has dropped off, and they've just gone. You know, so you know, I like to look at, you know, the kind of older guys. Yeah, there's, you know, they don't post on, you know, social media, and they're not active. They're kind of hide away. Um, you know, so I've been obviously, you know, lucky enough to meet a few who are above probably, you know, 60, and they've smashed it. Um, and they have a totally different, you know, expectation. You know, it's about being profitable, then it's about growing capital. And these guys aren't trying to target, you know, 100% a month, 80% a month, even 10% monthly. They're targeting about three to 5%, you know, monthly. But obviously, then because they know, because they've got history, and I'd say to everyone in this chat, you know, sorry if I'm, you know, waffling on here, but I say to everybody in this chat, you know, the group, everything, you know, once you're profitable, it is easy to get capital. All right. You know, you can show a 12-month history, you know, like this, right? It's easy to get capital. All right. And all you've got to do is just make 3% monthly. All right. And it could be trade blank, 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 trade blank, 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 trade blank, you know, blank, 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 trade, you know. But you just need that history, you know. And once you have it, I promise you, I can even introduce you to a few guys who would happily trial it, but they need 12 months history. So yeah, that's obviously one thing. You know, don't try and, you know, rush it. Trading is, you know, something, once you've got it, you can do it forever. You know, markets don't change. They haven't changed. Obviously, they're harder now. AI is having the pressure, but obviously even AI, you know, I've been dipping my toe into it a bit recently. I've been trialing a few things out. And obviously one thing that I've even noticed, there's some really good AI bots out there, but they only make 1.5% monthly, but they will make it for you every month. So, there's lots of stuff out there, but everyone's not, they're looking at 1.5%. They're looking at 20%, 100%, So, yeah. Right. Anyway, let's get to today. What is happening, where, why, how. So, we've got stocks down. All right. So I'll get back to you in a minute on that, on the questions. I'm just going to hide them for a minute. So we've got stocks down. All right. US 100, but I'd call them probably around break even. If we look at them, still trading around the all-time high area. So, it's not too bad, really, is it? We got SPX 500 still at all-time highs, US 100 pretty much all-time highs, and US 30 pretty much all-time highs. So there is some risk appetite out there. All right. Even though I think escalation risk is up to like 45%. That's one thing that I saw this morning. And so, it could all change, but nothing's really stepping out this morning. We've got oil trying to creep higher, but it's not really budging too much. Maybe something will happen at the weekend. You've got the US, saying that then they might leave the blockade in. You've got yeah, just random stuff is always snippeting out, but there hasn't been that escalation yet. You got obviously Iran, mentioning that talks are not going great with the US, so there is a high risk of escalation. I mean, it's at 45% at the moment, so it's just needs something major to kind of happen. There's been a couple of tankers being hit from the Gulf countries. Um, yeah, so it's a bit worrying, but yeah, let's wait and see what happens here. Right, so also in regards to yields holding around these highs, they're not going to go anywhere in my opinion. If we look at obviously what's happening today, we have got some retail sales later, but I don't think this is going to have much of an impact. And then we've got obviously Atlanta GDP a bit later on, but hopefully we'll be out of all trades by that time anyway. So yeah, that's obviously what we're kind of looking at here. I mean, everything's cons consolidating. I think dollar had its chance to break 100 yesterday. I actually think we could potentially be heading back down to 99,500. I was expecting this level here to break. It held, so it held pretty well. So that's obviously one thing that I'm kind of looking at here. Yeah, in regards to, I do think there's probably more chance of dollar coming down into this area here. If I'm honest, that's what I'm expecting to kind of happen. Just because, yeah, it 100% had its chance yesterday. We obviously gapped down as markets open. So for that kind of reason, trend is trending to the downside. But again, you could have. Allocated something different where you're allowing, allowing dollar assets to drift up against the dollar, and obviously then sell with it. I think you can do well either way today. So direction isn't as important, is positioning. Now I've stayed away from gold because we've been doing quite well scaling in. We come out in profit yesterday, and then we hit stops yesterday afternoon. So it was one of those. It was, yeah, it's been hard. So we've got obviously Aussie here again, staying away. We're kind of consolidating it within this kind of area here. Yes, we've obviously had one spike up, was expecting this continuation. We've crashed straight back down again, so that's obviously what I'm expecting price potentially to, kind of, yeah, stay in this areas. As long as gold stays high, got good data coming from China. So Aussie is going to stay kind of where it is. I don't think it's going to move anywhere else. Let's obviously skip GBP/USD for now. Euro should have actually left our entry open from yesterday. Our entry yesterday afternoon. Closed them 50, but obviously it was here, and I think our TP would have just got hit. So should have left that one open. Maybe I'm going to start to leave them open to see obviously what we can get here. But obviously the direction we've got this correct. Is it going to come back? Hopefully, but it's not looking likely this morning. We're obviously running away with it all already. My kind of choice of entry, and if I go down on a 15-minute here, we obviously had a bit of consolidation here. We could have entered here, all right. But obviously, again, because markets are a bit unpredictable, because trading's a bit hard, I'd rather have a bit of a slower day, especially on a Friday, especially when we've clocked up some good profit here. I'm actually happy. But obviously I want to make sure that we can build on what we have. So that's why I went down to this lower area here. We obviously have had lots of consolidation here, and I just wanted to be extra safe. Pound wouldn't have triggered yesterday, but obviously we've was hoping for one more tap into this area. You can see why. I've made stops slightly bigger today, so just obviously make sure that you're aware of that, and position eyes correctly. But obviously, again, I can't really do much if this just runs away with us. I mean, once this level here breaks, yeah, I do think that we should come up and hit obviously this 335 to 200. So let's wait and see on that one. We'll leave gold till last. USD JPY. I think USD JPY, is that triggered for us? Let's have a look. Yes, it has. So USD JPY is triggered. Again, happy. We've obviously got lots of pressure to the downside here. Um, and yeah, hoping for a nice, obviously, nice push to the downside. This will be limited if yields hold, because obviously that's what's going to drive it. It'll be if yields drop back down into this area here, this kind of 41615. That's where we want them to kind of end up. So happy with obviously happy with USD JPY. Want a nice swing here. Last but not least, gold. All right, this is my kind of magic level today on gold. 4-3, probably 4-3-4-3. I'm going to be watching this on the 15-minute. Uh, what we have got here, very, very easy and simple. We've got the previous daily high, previous daily low here. We've got the Asian high and the Asian low here. So if we do get this, I think London's going to be the big move today. If this one breaks, so if 4-3-4-3 breaks, then obviously I'll be looking to take it into minimum previous daily low. Because gold, I think, would be doubly backed. We've obviously got high risk of escalation. But then obviously if we get a weak dollar off the back of it, then we could see gold start to pump to the upside. But like I'd said, we got no man's land here, and we got no man's land here. This is our entry here. All right, and it's very, very clear, very, very easy. We want it to break, retest, and then scale in up to 4-3-6-5. So that's obviously what we are, looking at here. And hopefully it's nice and easy for everyone to see. So let's have a look at the macro tool and see obviously what it's telling us here, because obviously this is one thing that you guys will have access to from the weekend, so everything's on point, mentioning obviously retail sales, gold has slipped, it is testing support, same things as previously, we've got data driven caution, markets are waiting for US retail sales. So if we look at gold here, it will give you, your levels that you want to be looking out for here. These are one thing that I've worked on a lot, so you can obviously mark all of these levels up here. It will tell you, whether it's good or bad or whatever, So yeah, but obviously gold here, looking for a break. We got 15 minutes here. If this 15-minute candle breaks 4343, I'm going to be looking to scale in to the upside. So up to this 4365, that's what I'll be looking at. So yeah, that's about it from me. Right, let's have a look here. So what's best couple of books to read? Let me have a look through, and I'll tell you what I've read, and what is good. So probably have to go back. So I'm into Jack Reacher at the moment. Well, I have been for ages. I've read all of them. So we've got The Complete Turtle Trader. That's a good one. Um, which I think's good. For anyone who wants like a mindset one, the art of war. It isn't long, but it's really really good. Do you know one surprising book? It isn't trading, but obviously, it's one by 50 Cent. It's called Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. The guy's smart. Um, let's have a look here. What else? Market Mind Games is good. Outwitting the Devil. What else have we got here? I've read so many. Um, mm, mm, mm. Um, Rich Dad, Poor Dad's a good one. For anyone who's got like, I think for anyone who's got kids or teenagers who's like 18, it's going to be hard to get them to kind of do it. But obviously, that's what I'm going to really try hard, to get my daughters to read it. One thing that really helped me as well about ownership, life one, extreme. It's called Extreme Ownership, and it's written by two ex Navy SEALs. And it's brilliant, and it's about owning it. And I think in trading we blame us, for everything. Or no, sorry, we blame external stuff, but there's only one person to ever blame, and obviously that's you. um I actually really like, and it's true for like work ethic, Grant Cardone's the 10x rule. um Trading one, trading into the zone, or trading in the zone, that's good. The Alchemist is good. For anyone who's into trading stories, The Big Short, but you might have watched it. And then I've got loads of random ones like about the craze, Pablo Escobar. Do you know what? I've got this thing where I am the opposite to a criminal, but obviously I enjoy reading about them, and watching them, because I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy that some guy from the streets of Colombia, or from the streets of London, no qualifications, nothing, can build a you know billion-dollar empire. It's crazy. Um, my favorite book of all time is called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It's brilliant for anyone who hasn't read that. Think and Grow Rich is a classic. Everyone should read that always. That's about it. I think I've given you some good ones here. 48 Laws of Power. It's a good one. It's pretty heavy. It can make you into a bit of a horrible person, but obviously lots of it is true. So yeah, if you ever want any, like I spent, after I got divorced, I just spent probably about 2 years just reading books, trying to educate me. But to be honest, best thing that I could ever do. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I hadn't read or audio booked anything till I was about 35, and I've done 133 titles in the last, I don't know, 5 years. I have slowed down slightly. I've read most of them probably twice. So yeah, but yeah. Randomly, does anyone does anyone um have any more questions? Yeah, Market Wizards is good. I have got a PDF. Which I was going to print it because I quite like the idea of everyone having a hard copy, a book, as opposed to just a PDF on a screen. And I've been working on putting some worksheets in them and stuff. So I've been. I agree. The best thing you can do is get a divorce. I'm not sure the best thing you can do, but obviously afterwards, I think when you're one thing I've learned about life, and I do think is this day and age is that people change a lot from 20 to 30, and obviously you can't blame anyone, but obviously it's natural with how fast paced kind of life is. People changed so much from 20 to 30. So I think that's one thing, I got, married young. I was about 25. But obviously one thing that I'm going to educate my children on is that not to get married or have children before 30. Maybe everyone agrees or not agrees, but obviously that's my personal view because I think, everyone because of obviously social media that there's that whole grass is greener. I think that everyone yeah changes, and so that'll be my kind of words of wisdom to my children. So yeah, does anyone have any more trading related questions as opposed to life related questions? Any more for any more? If not, we'll end it here. And then obviously we can no the Dave, no marriage, no kids for me. Nice. Steve, 40th. Congratulations, man. That is, I remember going to my auntie and uncles. They had, I think it was their 20, no, 30th. And I was, yeah, it's proud, pride, because that's how it's supposed to be. But obviously, yeah, it's only for one in three now. So well done, Steve. Well done. Um, right, no more then. It'd be interesting for anyone watching this on YouTube wanting some training related content. So yeah. But right, have a great great Friday, and yeah, let's make sure we stay rigid and regimented, and yeah, let's make sure that we end today in the green. So have a good one, guys.